South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.
Well, last week, the Green Party leader, Minister Eamon Ryan, said that we need to significantly increase the number of public sector workers to deliver vital public services. I'm now joined by our resident economist, Marc Coleman. Marc, what are your thoughts on this?
I want to talk about the 36,000 and the 36%. 36,000 is the number of public sector staff that Eamon Ryan wants to bring into the system, but the 36% is what the Central Statistics Office is telling us. At the last time I looked at it, the quarterly earnings survey done by the Central Statistics Office for the fourth quarter of last year shows that the average worker in the public sector earns 36% more than the average worker in the private sector. Now, if you want to know why we don't have as many public servants as we could have, it's because no other country in most of Europe, maybe except Greece, has that positive differential. The logic in almost all other developed countries in the world is you should be well paid in the public sector, you should be well paid, but because you have security of tenure and you have a decent pension, there's an understanding in all other countries that public pay should be a little bit lower than private sector. Not much, but a little bit. In Ireland, we've decided to have 36% higher. The argument is that some public servants are more qualified, and that is true, but that is not relevant to the public services they provide in many cases. The nurse that's helping you in a hospital may have a PhD, but that doesn't necessarily make her or him a better nurse. So the first thing we have to have is a conversation about that 36% gap. And the private sector taxpayer has to say back to Eamon Ryan, well, okay, there are areas, primary school teachers, primary head teachers, local authority workers, many of them working their fingers to the bone and need support. But we need to look at where other areas of the public sector pay bill, because pay is much higher than elsewhere, like academics, for example, many semi-state companies, where we need to actually pay for it by reducing excessive pay levels and excessive pension levels before hitting the taxpayer with that burden. The other thing I would say about it, Karl, and this is South East Radio, a radio station serving rural and regional Ireland, where we need more civil servants is in local government, and I would say regional government. There's a feeling that the central system of government and central public sector recruitment is increasingly being taken over by non-government organisations and NGOs. I think there's a growing sense of frustration that public sector recruitment is happening too much in Dublin and it's being dictated by Dublin. So if we are going to expand government, we need to do it on the ground at local and community level, not in Dublin, where increasingly we find recruitment is driven by unaccountable, unelected NGOs, and there's very little confidence anymore in the central public recruitment service. It seems to be disconnected from reality. So in a nutshell, it's not a bad debate to have, but we cannot discuss increasing the public sector without looking at pay, transparency in recruitment, and if we do increase the public sector, it needs to happen on the ground in local, accountable and transparent ways, and there is an argument for that.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was our resident economist, Marc Coleman, and Marc will be joining us again on next Saturday morning's programme for more economic analysis.
South East Radio's Business Matters with Karl Fitzpatrick.